So what we're going to do here is we're going to show you a round back deadlift from Brandon. We're going to show you a straight back deadlift, and we're actually going to measure the total distance. Hey everyone, Brandon here today, and today we're going to be discussing deadlifts with you. We're going to talk about something that's been very maybe controversial across social media and in various articles from different authors and athletes, and that is the discussion between round back deadlifts and straight back deadlifts. We're going to be talking about which ones are maybe best for performance, which ones are maybe best for longevity, and we're going to try and provide some context to that, or at least something to add to that discussion across good or bad. And in fact, the answer is going to come down to kind of it depends, but maybe on not the it depends that you might think. So what we're going to do here is we're going to show you a round back deadlift from Brandon. We're going to show you a straight back deadlift, and we're actually going to measure the total distance because one of the most common things that people are going to say to promote round back deadlifts is that they reduce the total range of motion. In fact, that is true, but how much does it reduce definitely matters. And if you are a competitive powerlifter, you are probably still going to have to change your spinal position at the top of the rep to actually lock it out anyway. So in either situation, even if you start in a round back position, you are still going to have to get to a taller position at the top to complete the rep and have a good lift if you compete in a reputable federation, I would say. So go ahead and pull this for us, Brandon. Finish one a little bit soft, a little bit rounded. Not too soft, but rounded. It's kind of exaggerated. We'll do one more. Do a good one. Good. Now, before we show you the results of that, we want to discuss safety, because that's usually the biggest thing that people are going to say about straight back deadlifts is that they are safer, and safer deadlifting means more deadlifting over time, and if you can do more training over time versus less training because you're injured, you're going to be stronger. So those are usually the two camps that we find people in. What we're going to say about the round back deadlift is, yes, it probably does increase your risk of injury. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get injured, just as much as straight back deadlifts aren't going to guarantee that you're not going to get injured. But when we are ever talking about risk management, we're talking about stacking our chips in the category that is going to provide us with the best training over a long period of time. So when Brandon gets into his round back position, the one thing that we have to make sure happens, and any good deadlifter will tell you this, is that he has to, and this is really exaggerated, but if Brandon were to round his upper back only and stay braced here, that's probably not a really bad thing as long as you have the upper back position or the consistency in your upper back to continue the lift without changing dynamically during the lift. Go ahead and relax, Brandon, or make him work here. What we don't want to see, and this is definitely our one rule with round back deadlifting in our opinion, is that we cannot have the spine dynamically change positions while the barbell is moving. If you get into a good joint position to begin the deadlift, but you immediately break into a rounded position, that is tremendously bad, and it is something that is probably going to get you injured sooner than later. And if you don't believe me, you can do an N=1 study on yourself and do a max effort Jefferson curl and see how that ends up for you. So what we are going to say, if you are someone who does deadlift with a rounded back, if you start in that position and maintain that position and you don't have a history of back pain, you don't have a history of hip pain, you can probably get away with doing it for a very long period of time. However, the one thing that we're going to argue is that the range of motions aren't significantly different. What we didn't show you was a rounded back position that finished into a tall position, because they're probably both going to finish in the exact same place. But for the sake of the experiment, I would say, we'll go ahead and show the round back position, but then finishing tall and in an actual locked out position on this one. So Brandon's going to start in a rounded position, but he's eventually going to get into a tall, good position at lockout. Good. Okay, let's check the device. Go ahead and go down, Brandon. Now, what we're going to show here, if you guys remember, we did the round back deadlift to begin with, and then we did the good deadlift, and I might have a little noise in here because I just threw it up. The first deadlift is going to come in at 331 millimeters. Second one, 369 millimeters, so about a little over 30 millimeter difference between the straight back and the round back deadlift. And finally, we have 383 millimeters in the last one. But again, I said I think there might be a little noise there because I was yanking on the device. Moral of the story is, even if it's a round back position, you absolutely have to overcome that position at lockout, and thus making the range of motion very insignificant. If you are someone who deadlifts with a rounded back, I would say continue to do so if you can maintain positions and you don't have a history of back pain. But if you are someone who is getting into deadlifting and you're trying to find a default to start with the straight back position and then work into whatever refined technique over time that you're going to experiment with. Any thoughts, Brandon?
No, about covers it.
Brandon did all the lifting. Brandon and Brandon out.